I like to ask you, is this a trend, a real trend, or is this just a buzzword? And the word is centralization. So I like for you to wait on this. Centralization in maintenance. Is centralization in maintenance just a buzzword? Is this something real? Is this something that we could actually put in place in multifamily? And how extensive what that would be? Would it be like a little bit of centralization? Would it be like a lot of centralization or somewhere in between?
Centralization is a buzzword. It sounds great, right? When you're looking at a budget and you're saying you're wrestling between, we need to pay more potentially to get the candidate we want to oversee facilities. How can we group it together, right? How can we share the cost? So I think there is something there. Generally, it becomes a buzzword because there's a whole bunch of variables in there on a case-by-case basis. If it's a large-scale property, I think that centralization is much more difficult to do. If you have over 250, 300 units, certainly over 300, it becomes more challenging to do a centralized approach with multi-site because you're dealing with a host of issues. I mean, just keys alone, right? Like, so let's say, where do you keep keys? Do you keep the keys on site? Do you keep the keys at a central location? You have to deal with response times. When you're centralized and you're going between 3, 5, larger properties, can you get there quick enough? What's the impact on ratings and reviews, customer service? If your sink's overflowing and someone can't get there because they're not local to the property, well, then that's a problem, not only from an asset management perspective, but also from a customer service perspective. I think that maintenance is the most difficult one to centralize because it really requires hands-on. You can't remotely fix an electrical socket. You can't remotely unclog a sink. You can't, remotely do these things. As it relates to property management, leasing, technical consulting, those things, I think those can be centralized to a large extent. We adapted during the pandemic with virtual tours, right? And it was a remote option there with leasing where you weren't coming in contact with a potential resident. So I think there is a path to centralization. It's just not the buzzword that everyone talks about, and it may not be as pretty in the end, or there could certainly be cost sharing, but I often think about at what cost? At what cost to customer service? At what cost to ratings, reviews? And as we all know, those things are critical in 2023 to a success of any organization.